All right, bro. What's your name?
Matt.
Matt, nice to meet you. My name's
you,
Roderick.
Pleasure to be here.
Matt, I'm so glad that you're here, man.
Me too.
What do you like about religion, and what do you dislike about religion?
And let's start with negative.
Yeah, go ahead.
Something I dislike about religion is its ability to divide people, and it can be polarizing, and you can have people who are born up in very similar backgrounds, very similar in appearance and culture, but just their difference in religion can have them coming at each other's throats. But I will say one good thing about religion on the opposite spectrum is it can bring people together, and it can allow for unity, and I think there's something very powerful to be said about people coming together for a similar cause and belief, and it's a really unique human experience. Religion is being able to bring each other together and all kind of work towards something and all kind of feel the same way about something.
So would you say you fall more upon atheistic views or agnostic views? Like, do you believe in a higher power?
I say I do believe in a higher power. I think that, in my eyes, just believing that everything that we see is all that's out there is a bit foolish. There has to be some sort of level of, being that we might not fully understand. I guess I was born Catholic. I used to go to church as a child for my mother and family. But as far as being religious, I'm not the type. I wouldn't say I'm atheist. Something that I've done in the past that actually has made some people angry, question some people, is I used to wear satanic imagery because that's kind of falls in line with some of the bands and some of the visual stuff that I was into at the time. Some of that imagery I like, but I'm not a Satanist. I always try to tell people that when they see me wearing that stuff, I'm not. I believe in a higher power, but I wouldn't put myself into one box for religion.
I've heard it said like this: either one religion is right or all of them are wrong, because most of them, if not all of them, contradict one another. Because you have the Christians saying, we have the one true God. You have people in Judaism saying, no, we have the one true God. You have Hindus saying, oh no, all of these beings are God and stuff, but like they're fundamentally different and contradicting one another and claiming to have the one true God. And so how do you feel about that? Either one is right or all of them are wrong.
I personally think religion, back in the day at least, was used as a sort of way to explain the unexplainable. You would have people going out on sea, and it'd be a crazy storm, crazy waves, and you would attribute that to the gods. The gods were mad, they didn't know climate, things of that nature. So in some instances, I see people viewing their gods and their higher power as a reflection of their culture and explaining some of the unexplainable things that may have occurred back in the day. As far as one being right or wrong, I don't think that's fair. As I mentioned, I think some cultures have created their religion and their God to fit their lifestyle, things they were exposed to, and things that have happened to them. Versus, while they're all similar, they all have differences. And you can't say one's right and one's wrong.
Jesus' statement in John 14:6, he says, I'm the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. How do you feel about that statement that he made?
I think it's worded pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think Jesus had a way with words. We'll say that. So repeat for me again. He's basically saying, I want to hear what you think first, and then I want to go off of that. So how would you explain that?
I believe that Jesus is making a bold statement there, saying, hey, like the way to get to God is through me. Like the truth about God is through me, and the life that you find in God is through me, and you can't find that outside of me. You find that through me.
Right.
Like you try to look to the things of the world and look to other people and look to other different things or different spirits to try to find all these things. But Jesus is like, no, like the fulfillment and trueness of all of these things, the way, the truth, and the life is found in me and through me.
I think that statement is a little bit worrisome, at least in the modern sense. But in his time, I think if you're a leader, a religious one, I totally would agree with what he said.
Yeah.
Like, he's being as the leader, he says, if you want, you come through me.
Right.
And he's taking charge. So for the time, I think it was fine, and I think it's pretty cool, honestly. But if taken the wrong lens and used in today's society in the wrong way, it can be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, so like to that, I agree with you. If a religious leader or just like anybody in general is saying things like that, I'm like, like normally people would probably start thinking like you're probably a lunatic or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
But like my like take on that is okay, so Jesus just didn't only claim to be the way to God. He actually claimed in John 8 to be God himself.
Wow. Okay.
And stuff, he was talking with religious leaders, and he was just spitting fire to them and stuff, facts. And they asked him like, why are you like talking about like Moses and like Abraham and stuff like that? You weren't there and stuff. You weren't alive back then. And Jesus says something very interesting. He says, before Abraham was, I am. And when he made that statement, he was referencing all the way back to Exodus 3, where Moses first spoke to God, and God was instructing him to go to, Egypt and, tell them to let my people go. And Moses asked God, okay, God, how do I, like, who do I tell them that you are if they ask me who sent me? And he says, say to them, I am has sent you. And so Jesus was referencing back to that moment in Exodus 3. And when he said that, they knew what he was saying. And they picked up stones to try to stone him. Because they knew, like, oh, he's claiming to be God. This is blasphemy. Well, maybe he does have some validity if he's saying this as God.
First, let me say I'm not super educated on the Catholic religion. So some of the things I might not fully know that I'm talking about. But in my personal humble belief, I want to reference what we just said. I think that nobody really has the authority or power to say that I am God or I am better than you. In my eyes, all men were created equal and all men were conceived through, what's the word for it? Yeah, conceived through pregnancy and giving birth, you know what I mean? But I can't judge him for at the time. Like, if I was all the way back in his day, it would be much easier to believe that. And this feeling, and even as humans today, we still get feelings of supernatural feelings. Feelings like this feels unbelievable. And I can only imagine back then, with the lack of information that they had, that it could truly make your brain believe these things. And in Jesus in specific, to say that, like I said, I can't judge him too much. I think he truly believed that. I think he was a leader. He was very well spoken. And I think that by him saying that was him doing his job, his duty, what he believed that his calling was.
If Jesus did not resurrect from the grave, our faith, everything that we believe in, is in vain, is pointless, is meaningless. First, we lied on God saying that God raised Jesus from the dead. We should be pitied amongst all people. And so Paul literally puts the stake in the ground and literally flat out says word for word, if Jesus did not resurrect from the grave, we're still in sin. There's still a judgment day. Like, our faith is in vain. Everything that we're teaching is false. And so what do you think about that? Because like, if the entire Christian faith hinges on the resurrection of Jesus, and I would say that we have like really good amount of eyewitness testimony of over, like it says that over 500 plus people saw the resurrected Jesus over a period of 40 days and 40 nights after he died. I think that the evidence points to, oh man, everything that he said is legit, including him being God. Because like, Matt, if you like told me all that and stuff and then resurrected 3 days later after your death, I would listen very closely to what you have to say. So what is your thoughts on that?
What can I ask one question? What do they mean by resurrect? Like, was he
bodily?
Felt, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So he died, and then what did they witness? Did they witness him rise, his body rise again, or what?
Yeah. So they like, it doesn't say that they were there, but like, so Mary Magdalene and some women were the first ones at the tomb. They just came to visit the tomb to like, anoint Jesus' body, like all that as custom, what they did in their culture. And they saw that the stone was rolled away and that in his tomb, his, which is crazy, his clothes were literally folded. Nice and neat, like literally. And then Mary turned around and like she actually saw the bodily resurrected Jesus, and she ran back, told the disciples. Some of them didn't believe her, and then Jesus, it literally says Jesus literally walked through the walls, and they saw him. And then Thomas, he was still doubting. He was like, no, there's no way you could be Jesus. He was like, I need to touch like the nails in your hands and stuff like that. And Jesus was like, here, touch it. And he touched it. And then Jesus followed up saying, blessed are those, I mean, you believe because you've seen, but blessed are those who have not yet seen, but yet believe. And then it says over a period of 40 days and 40 nights, Jesus started appearing to more and more people bodily resurrected. And this is like eyewitness historical testimony.
Wow.
So what do you think about that?
I think that's fascinating, truly. Let me do two different answers. If I could give a negative, logical look at it, I would say that Jesus fell into a coma and woke up 2 or 3 days later.
Okay.
Could say that. We could say Jesus was very ill and was down and out for a couple of days and then felt better and rose again. If we want to look at it that way. Now, if we want to look at it through a more religious and spiritual point of view, I would be fascinated to see what happened back then and what caused these firsthand accounts. Now, hysteria and mass hysteria is definitely a thing. It's a very weird thing, understudied thing, and it's the cause of a lot of people's brains and stuff focusing and creating these things that may not have happened. But it's so interesting because, like you said, there is so many accounts of it. So it either is mass hysteria or it really happened, And I think that he was such an interesting character that it could have happened, It could. It's wild to think. And I honestly think that if he was resurrected and everything hinged on that moment, it's quite interesting to me because a religion's so complex and so wide and so vast. How could it be summed up to one moment?
I know, right?
It's
crazy.
But at the same time, that idea is reflected a lot of times throughout history, where so much can all just boil down to one thing, one person. Think of our country, America. Yeah. Without Lincoln, where would we have been?
Exactly.
What if somebody else was in office during the Civil War? Sometimes it can really all boil down to one man, one person being a leader, being in charge, and it can have amazing, lasting effects.
Oh, yeah.
Once he resurrected, that might have been part of his duty. Yeah. It's part of his life,
Bro, like, I love, like, your humble approach on this and how you're willing to take it, from both sides and poke at it a little bit and back up and be like, man, but this is very fascinating, very interesting. I love that.
Thank you.
My closing remark to you would be that God is real, that he loves you, that he wants a relationship with you. I believe that Jesus lived a perfect life, died on the cross, and resurrected.
That's right.
Because he's like, hey, I realize that you as human beings who were created in my image, all of you guys have sinned against me and against other people and stuff. Like, you haven't lived a perfect life, and I don't want you to depend on your good deeds to be saved, but I'm going to come and do everything for you so that all it takes is faith in me to receive that salvation and live a flourishing life here on earth and in the life to come.
This has been a great conversation. I think it's important to be able to talk about these kind of topics, even if you have different views or the same views, and be able to discuss them.
Absolutely.
And if I could have any closing remarks, I would say that religion is important, it's powerful, it serves as a guideline for morals and beliefs. And if you look at people like Jesus and other religious leaders, they've impacted millions and millions and billions of people with their word and their actions and their values. So religion can be a powerful tool that can make you a better person. And hopefully religion is used for good and not for divisive or for anything negative. Because like you said, and like I said, it's powerful and it can really affect you in a good way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so
much,
Matt.
Thank you.
It was so nice meeting
Appreciate
with you, bro.
you.
All right.
Thank you guys.